And we is here. Let me give this first two comments a little read real here, real quick right now. Yep. Still haven't answered the question. Good on you, Brzezinski, for pointing that out. They deflected. They talked about everything but what you asked. She didn't like them before Sam even started working for them. I've not come across anything in the game that explains this. I'm reading it out loud anyway. That explains this bit of Robin's story. Without this explanation, I can't accept her views or sympathize with her. In what way exactly has Alterra been presented that suggests they have nefarious methods or intentions? There is no way. That's his personal. That's how. Jill Murray did what defenders of the story are doing. Y'all have personal feelings and y'all have personal grievances with corporations and in your personal real life. In your mind, capitalism is bad. For whatever reason, you have experiences with capitalism, with corporations, and the outcome has caused you to have this warped mentality where this system of economics is not working for you. And because it's not working for you, it's not working for anyone else. And because it's not working for you, it has to be changed. So Jill Murray writes Alterra as big and bad she doesn't even feel like she has to explain it, right? Jill Murray believes it's like, hey, capitalism, am I right, guys? Right, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Big bad corporations are bad, wink, right? Even though all the big bad evil corporations are all proudly putting out their Black Lives Matter hashtags and they're all saying Breonna Taylor's name, Black Lives Matter. They all support gay rights. Capitalism bad, but all the capitalism that you say is so hateful and evil, they support you. All the big tech oligarchs, Silicon Valley, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these all the platforms of the world, they support you. But you still feel like you're fighting the power. Evil corporations holding you back. The captain and officers Alterra entrusted the Aurora with thought only of saving her crew when she was shot down. None of those crew members seemed particularly evil. Below Zero hasn't offered any compelling examples of Alterra perfidy either. Emmanuel Desjardins, or whatever that guy, Emmanuel is a bit odd, but I've had worse bosses. Parvin Ivanov and Alexis Riiight are presented as reasonable, trustworthy members of Alterra law enforcement. I remember Alexis. She's the one that did the investigation. We find her PDA logs in the excavation site. That's who Alexis is. Okay. I need to see if they've updated the wiki with more information on the characters. You can't have an evil company made up of decent people. And since we've all been shown in both of these games is decent people. That's all whom we can assume generally works for Alterra. Sure, they're no angels. They're out to make a profit and they need oversight, same as the rest of us. But they're not Captain Planet villains. Are we to believe that doing research on disease-causing bacteria is inherently evil? My father is diabetic and takes insulin. My mother is diabetic. She has type 2 diabetes. She has to take insulin and she has to monitor her blood sugar or she will die. She will go into a diabetic coma. The medicine that diabetic people depend on is produced from genetically modified E. coli bacteria. The idea that the research that made this kind of miracle possible was somehow morally repugnant is laughable. I use penicillin as my example. And Brzezinski brings up insulin made from genetically modified E. coli bacteria as his example. Think about that. That's not even getting into when Robin reassured Alan that she's been vaccinated against Karal, which didn't even happen. I'm totally on board for a story where something goes wrong and Alterra's plans for 4546B go very badly. I'd love to read some stories about Alterra's checkered past of reckless greed. I'd settle for a quick PDA write-up from Robin's diary about how Alterra built a sludge processing plant in a forest she used to love as a child. Because I simply don't know enough about Robin's motivations. Neither can I understand what she's thinking or feeling. As it is, she comes off as a judgmental, hot-headed, immature, antisocial jerk who would rather spend her time alone in an alien wilderness with nothing but a knife, her lucky PDA, and some rope than work under a manager or regulations. I'm not saying it's a bad plot that needs to be changed, but I'm saying it. That's stupid. I'm saying the plot is missing important structural members, causing parts of the story to collapse in on themselves. Well-made post, my friend. Putting you out, getting your voice out there. Andrea's replies. I feel that the story makes sense perfectly and is awesome. Question mark. You didn't even talk about what's actually happening in Below Zero. I'm not saying it's a bad plot. Really? Well, okay, so I risk being seen as stupid and say it. The plot is bad and should have been changed. It's obviously much too late now. Well, the Brzezinski was trying to be a little diplomatic. I think he agrees. Sir Prosic. The original story went unfinished, and the current story is the way it is because they are trying to salvage as much as they can from the original material, which is a problem. The original material was the issue. Because you wanted Tom to write the story a specific way, and he didn't want to write it that specific way. So he wrote it his way while still touching all the story beats. That's why we got the story in the way that we got it. He wrote himself into a corner, trying to check off those boxes, trying to check off everything that Unknown Worlds wanted. Whilst to make a story that delivers what Unknown Worlds wanted while still making sense to his own personal standards, he couldn't do it. That's why he quit. So they tried to salvage so much of this old material without understanding how to work with it. It's like trying to graft organ. It's like an organ transplant, but you don't understand how to transplant an organ properly to where the body doesn't reject the new organ. You don't understand how immunization works. You just try to shove in elements from the old story into the new story, and it's stitched together poorly, and it shows. And if you can't see it, you're not looking. And if you're looking and you say you don't see it, you're not being honest. PDA voice aside, I think they're doing okay for salvaging a video game. Their ideology is a bit too leftist for me, but I can still enjoy the game despite that. When we get the complete story, perhaps it will make more sense. Wonderful Waffles tries to defend, mainly because the events in Subnautica were the main factors to how the story is in BZ. Nah, because Karal exists and Maida shouldn't be in Below Zero, and the Mercury 2 logs don't make sense because of Karal, so nah, son, miss me with that weak shit. Earlier versions of the story and bits from the original game explain the corporate horrors of Alterra. I don't know what you're talking about, missing me with it. The radio calls with Sam and the company director, PDA entries explaining why your emergency supplies are so limited, cheap-ass company, etc., the huge bill at the end of the OG, and again, none of this justifies Sam or Robin's actions or viewpoints. There is no substance. Please try again. Big Brzezinski. That version of Below Zero is gone. I never played it myself, only had the game in front of me. The bill at the end was a gag. You're meant to laugh at it, not dissect it. Wonderful Waffles. I don't know. Technically, the bill is realistic since Riiight did illegally use the resources of the planet under Transgov territory, though it also shows how corrupt Alterra is. Whew. I don't know. I think Sam was pretty corrupt, for what she did. The property damage she caused and the murder, she murdered Parvin. That's pretty corrupt, dude. Next video.